You're watching SportsBeat.
And hi there, everybody. Welcome to the Beat. Glad to have you aboard tonight. All right, Jeremiah, we're less than 2 weeks away from the start of college football practice, if you can believe that. And today, we begin our college football previews, and we begin with the Cougars.
Yeah, BYU coming off their worst season since 1955. Changes were made after a 4-9 record in 2017, both with the coaching staff and in the locker room. The players have owned what happened last season. There's more accountability and discipline, and everyone is determined to turn things around.
It was disappointing.
Obviously a disappointment.
Well, it doesn't kill you, makes you stronger.
You go down to the grocery store, you're on the BYU football team? Dang, you guys had a rough year last year.
You never expect to have a season like that.
Throws as he's going down, and this game is over.
If I had the answer, I would have figured that out by now.
BYU will drop to 1-6. BYU's being blanked.
So we're overwhelmed.
Intercepted, my goodness.
Really frustrated at the whole thing.
I mean, we take it personal. We don't want to be known as a group of guys that aren't good. We want to be known as guys that are ball players.
I think accountability is the biggest thing. You can't point blame anywhere, and I think it's been a huge thing for us to figure out that it's on all of us. Even last year, we avoided that. We wanted to find scapegoats in one thing or another. No one wanted to step up and be like, hey, there's something wrong. There's something wrong with me. Guys are starting to see that, hey, I have to change first in order for the team to change. And so that's been amazing for us.
All the guys are looking at film and things like that and things of that nature, and just some of them come away disgusted of the things that they've seen. That's a tough pill to swallow for those guys, you know, especially when they expect more.
It's easy to show humility when you're winning, though, right? And it's really difficult to show humility when things don't go your way and you've lost. Sitting and reflecting on the past is good to learn from, but I don't think you don't live in it.
We survived that. We're past that. I don't think we're lingering on that at all. I think it's in the back of our minds is motivation.
Now that's kind of transferred over into hunger for improvement.
Hungry, man. We're hungry to get back out there.
While it's motivated us to step up our game, at the same time we can't dwell on it or think about it too much. We just got to move on.
The atmosphere of the team now is a lot better, and the energy and the focus and the work ethic is just a lot better.
But this year it's really just surprising, the doubters, the haters right now, and that's really my main focus.
We'll make sure that people come back to believing that BYU football is great again.
All right, so you heard from the players and the coaches. So what is the key to bouncing back in 2018? I believe it's discipline on and off the field. It was lacking last year. The Cougars will be underdogs in a lot of games this year. They're going to need that discipline on the field to cut down on penalties, turnovers, the things that really killed them in those games, and lack of execution as well, in order to turn things around and beat some of these teams that on paper are better than them.
A couple of things. Offensive line, Jeff Grimes, obviously that's a specialty. Whoever the quarterback is, he needs some time, and he also needs a running game to help out. That offensive line is the catalyst to get that done. That'll also help them to take shots down the field and become more explosive, which they weren't last year. And besides the offensive line, they got to find a playmaker.
They do.
They didn't have a playmaker last year that could make a play. None.
They didn't have a lot of those big, large gains past 20 yards. They need that. They need that in that offense to make it more, more strong. All right. When you look at the schedule, the first month, Rod, it's brutal.
Yeah, it's possible that this team can be much better and still fall short of getting bowl eligible. 5 games against P5 opponents, three groups of 5 teams that are contenders for conference titles. Here's the schedule. It's tough, but the Cougars embrace the challenge.
That's one of the things that drew me to the job in the first place. I didn't come to BYU just because it's BYU. I came here because of the challenge of it. And I looked at that schedule and I got excited. I'm like, yeah, that's awesome, right?
I like the competition. There's a ton of good teams in that schedule.
We're not shying down from anybody.
You got to pin your ears back and kind of lick your chops, because it's like, this is my time. This is where you get noticed. So I'm pumped for it.
As an athlete, you always expect to play at your highest level, and you know that you can only play at your highest level if you play against the best in the world.
Honestly, it's just a name of a school, and it's just people. Everybody we all put the pads on. Honestly, they just somebody we gotta roll over and get a win.
I love telling people, like, BYU, the mentality that it's always been for me growing up is we're the Rocky Balboas.
Don't stop it now. We're starting, we don't stop. All your strength, all your power, all your love, everything you've got.
We fight the big fights and we perform under pressure. And I love thinking back to when we beat Nebraska.
Time, loads up, launches it, goes for the end zone. The ball's in the air, it drops at the goal line. I think he caught it for a touchdown. He got it!
We beat Texas. All these crazy games where no one expects us to do anything, and we come out and shock everyone. And so when you see the schedule, it's like, yeah, we have opportunities to do that. And that's really kind of to show what BYU is.
So this is what they're up against. The first month they face Khalil Tate in Arizona and Tucson. He's a Heisman Trophy candidate. Then Cal, who returns 18 starters. They're going to be better this year. Wisconsin and Washington are preseason top 10 teams, could be playoff contenders. Boise State's the favorite to win the Mountain West. They might end up in a New Year's Day bowl game. And Utah State and Northern Illinois are conference title contenders. Then that doesn't even mention Utah down at the bottom. That's a brutal schedule for anybody. I don't care who you are, especially for a team coming back, trying to bounce back from a 4-9 season. So what stands out to you about this schedule?
You know, I think that getting through that first month, they've got to get some confidence. Win or lose, they just got to gain confidence. They got to execute. Last year, losing to the big boys, they had no confidence. They did not execute. My goodness, they didn't even cross the 50-yard line against LSU, and that's unacceptable. D3 teams cross a 50-yard line against LSU. So they got to execute. Win or lose, they got to execute and feel good about themselves. I think that's the key through that first month of the season.
I agree with you. Get healthy, too.
Yeah.
Just get through the first month without losing any major starters and find some confidence in that month. It's brutal. They'd probably end up 1-3, but if you're going to steal one against Cal in the first month, all of a sudden you have a different outlook on the season. The confidence builds. That could be a huge game for BYU at home against a Cal team that's still trying to figure out who they are.
Just execute. Score some touchdowns. Move the football. Cross the 50-yard line against the big boys. Yep. That's it. All right, coming up later, we'll make our prediction. And Jeremiah, I have an upset there in that first month.
Okay.
So that's coming up. And up next, an in-depth look at the offense.
I think we have enough talent here to win games.
Kalani Sitake brought in Jeff Grimes to turn around one of the nation's worst offenses. Does he think he has the players to get it done?
I'm really happy with the guys that we have.
And BYU needs someone to step up at quarterback. What will it take for one of them to do that and separate themselves from the rest of the quarterback room?
All right, welcome back to our BYU football preview. One of the main tasks of Kalani Sitake and new offensive coordinator Jeff Grimes, of course, is to name a starting quarterback.
A tough decision. There's several battling for the job, from senior Tanner Mangum down to freshman Zach Wilson. If BYU is to have success this season, a leader must emerge from this group and help turn around this offense.
We don't know who the quarterback's going to be.
Yeah, same.
You probably want to know, just like we do.
I'm really happy with the guys that we have. I think we're going to have a great competition in fall camp. And the reason for that is because they're good players.
And a lot of people will say if you're in a position where you have 3 or 4 or 5 quarterbacks competing, that really means that you don't have any, right? Mm-hmm. And sometimes I think that's the case, but that's not the case here. None of them are where we would like for any one of them to be yet, but the combination of the amount of ability we have there, combined with the way that Coach Roderick is coaching them, he's doing a phenomenal job of teaching them, and those two things give me great confidence that we'll have someone, and probably more than one, that we can win with.
Well, what I like is that we have a quarterbacks coach that has made those decisions not just once before, but many times before, and I've been with him during those times, you know, and I have an offense coordinator that's been through those decisions too, and the experience that he's had. So I feel comfortable with them making the right decision. What it's provided is a lot of competition within the group, and we probably have a lot of oars on our depth chart, which means that no one's set yet on starting, and that the quarterback included. You know.
What's Tanner's status with his injury? How is he coming along with
He's full go. He's lost 22 pounds since I got here. Wow. He looks very fit. I think he's gained a lot of confidence from getting himself in great shape.
I was definitely down for a little bit, just frustrated and really a little bit angry with myself and just the things that were going on. So it was kind of a chance for me to take an introspective look and decide what I wanted to do moving forward. It's my senior year now coming up. What am I going to do?
Well, it's been said, as Jeff Grimes said, if you have 2, 3, 4 quarterbacks, you really don't have any. But I don't necessarily believe that. But, Jeremiah, there are 4 guys there that each have their own talents, but which one will fit best into his new offense that can get the job done?
Yeah, that's the decision they're going to make. I think it's going to be a great competition. I think some want to count out Tanner Mangum. Now, after struggling last season, his Achilles injury, you combine those 2 things, and I think people are writing him off, but I think that'd be a mistake. He's 100% recovered from the injury. He's dropped 20 pounds. He's been working very hard. You look at his first 3 seasons at BYU, and the only time he really had to compete for the job, he lost out to Taysom Hill. The other times he came in as an injury replacement. Last year, he was the most experienced guy, so it made sense.
And his first year, I mean, he was able to roam and just be his athletic self and use those talents. And it'll be interesting to see if Jeff Grimes lets him do that again this year, where last year is more regiment and in the Ty Detmer offense.
Yeah, Kalani says he regrets that he didn't have more of a competition last year. Okay, Zach Wilson. We watched Zach at high school at Corner Canyon. It's hard to imagine that BYU would start a true freshman quarterback, but this guy has something special. He's got something, you know, the dual threat thing. He just has some moxie that I think has him in the running here.
Got the height, he's got the arm strength, and let's face it, if they're not going to go with Tanner Mangum, get him through the first month, and if he's successful, stay with him. Let him finish this thing out. If not, let's ride Zach Wilson for the next 4 years and live and die with him, see how it goes. I think he's got that capability. So there you go. But whoever the quarterback is, they will have to deal with learning a new offense on the fly.
Yeah, that's going to be a challenge. BYU was 118th out of 129 teams in total offense last season. That's not good. Kalani Sitake hired Jeff Grimes to fix the problem. Kalani also hired experienced play callers Aaron Roderick and Fesi Sitake to help him out. They've already established trust with the players and instilled confidence that was lacking last season.
Coach Grimes has been really fun to work with. He's got a lot of energy and passion, and he's very determined to help us take ourselves to that next level.
He came in and said, okay, we've got a lot of good coaches in this room. What can we do to win games with the kind of players we have at BYU?
Do you believe you have the talent in place to be successful?
Depending on your definition of success, yeah, I do. I think we have enough talent here to win games. I do. More importantly, I think we have the right kind of kids here. I've been really, really impressed with the quality of the guys that we're coaching. With very few exceptions, our players have been willing to say, coach me, be demanding, hold us to a high standard. And what else can you ask for as a coach?
That whole room, there's just a lot of different offenses we've been a part of, but the great thing is it caters to this type of offense that's able to adapt, that's really versatile, and so we're able to have meaningful discussions and bounce ideas off the walls and settle on something that we all feel really strongly about and believe in, and that trickles down to the players.
Well, offensively, with Coach Grimes and the other coaches, they have raised the bar for us and have raised expectations, and I feel like so far we've done a good job of meeting those, and it'll only continue, you know, throughout the rest of the summer and into the season.
Would we like to upgrade the talent in some spots and go and recruit even more players? Yeah, every coach wants to do that, whether you're coaching high school, college, or NFL. You want to go get the best players you can get. But I believe we got the right kind of kids here to go out and be successful with this year.
Going to be interesting how it works and how quickly it can work.
Yeah, you know how it is when you're bringing in a new offense and you're trying to get all the chemistry going. Yeah. You need a couple, 2 or 3 games. Sometimes it's quicker, sometimes it struggles to get to that point where you need it. But the faster it goes, the more chance they have to win some of these games early.
And it'll be put to the test the first month, that's for sure. All right, that's a look at the offense. Up next, the defense.
In pistol, interception, Zane Anderson.
Yeah, how will position changes impact the defense? What is their strength? The Cougars will share all that coming up next. Welcome back to the story with the BYU defense's position changes. Diane Gawuliku, Troy Warner, Sione Takitaki, and Zane Anderson all trying to master a new position this fall.
And the Cougars, they do have a number of big-time performers coming back this season. They'll be relied on heavily to make a major improvement from a year ago.
You learn a lot about yourself when you face adversity. So what did you learn about yourself as a coach last year that you can apply moving forward?
Not as good of a coach as I thought I was.
If the team needs me more at corner, if the team needs me at safety, if the team needs me at nickel or even like a linebacker type position, I'm able to play any of those positions. So, but right now I think my focus is going to be on playing safety. So,
coming from the spring, I think that we have a lot of youth. I think that we have a lot of potential, kids that can contribute early. But the ones that stick out are really probably the linebacker crew.
Butch has led in the way that the head coach has led. He's taken upon himself to improve from a year ago.
To Williams. And he's met at the 16-yard line, putting the heat. The hit on was Butch Pau'u.
A veteran player and understands the game better, so I expect the best Butch Pau'u that we could get this year.
Your linebacker group's pretty solid.
Yeah, we got
you have Sione and Zane into the group. What do you like about this group right now as you head into the season?
Right now, so I think what's cool about Sione is he's got just the tenacity to go and get the ball. I mean, you saw that last year as a defensive lineman. Kind of new to him, but he still managed to get to the quarterback.
The combination of 4 defensive linemen, whoever's playing in there between Corbin, Trajan, Devin, Uriah, and then the tackles we get Meti, Talia Uli back, Kaira Stonga, and there's a couple of young pups that we think are going to step up to the plate and play,
It all starts in the trenches, of course, and so if we get a good rush, if we can knock the line back on run, then it makes everything easier.
And I've learned a lot from Kalani, different defensive coaches that I've been around who have their convictions about certain things, about the way to do things, and I've kind of started to get some convictions of my own.
So it's interesting. I mean, you look at those position changes. I think that's going to be the key for the defense. If those guys make a successful transitions to the positions they're moving to, especially those linebackers, that linebacker core could be really good. The safeties are going to be outstanding, and this defense could be Power 5 level defense. I really think that that's going to be the key. But, these things can take time, so that's kind of the X factor in all this.
That's all fine and dandy. I think the key to the BYU defense, the BYU offense.
Good point.
Don't go as many times 3 and out. Don't turn the ball over. Score some touchdowns, give them a rest, because when these guys had rest last year and they were on an even playing field, they played really well.
Yeah, up until that Wisconsin game when it seemed like frustration mounted.
But the offense just put them in bad situations, turned the ball over, couldn't sustain a drive, and then the BYU defense just runs down. I think the key to the defense is the offense. So there you go.
That's true.
Coming up next, Jeremiah, it's time to pump us up.
All right, yeah, taste of what you can expect to see at Lavelle Edwards Stadium this fall, and we make our schedule predictions when we come back.
All right, welcome back to BYU Football Preview. While last season did not go as planned with only 4 wins, there were some moments that will give Cougar fans a reason to be excited for this season.
Yeah, a lot of players coming back. A young team took their lumps last season, but with 14 starters returning and a more experienced offensive coaching staff, the Cougars are ready to prove doubters wrong and return to their winning ways.
First 1-4 start in 7 years, but Kalani Sitake is one of the more positive head coaches you're going to meet in college football. He told us yesterday, you can't turn on each other.
BYU will lose for a 7th straight time to Utah.
Unimaginable in Provo before this season started.
And Mangum slow to get up.
No foul for intentional.
And Johnson from the goal line, off and running. Oh, he is nailed and the ball's out.
Feed into the end zone. Oh, what a short drop. Stepping up, dragged out. Ball loose, and the Cougars appear to have fallen on it. Sione Takitaki for the 2nd time today. Loss of 8 reception. Zane Anderson. Handoff. Reverses to Hodge. Hodge on a throwback to a backer. Makes the catches at the 10. To the 5. Into the end zone. Touchdown! Corbin Kafusi. Towards the pylon. Ball into the end zone. Has a man wide open. Shuffle to his left. Zone it is. Caught for a touchdown there. Going for the end zone. Somewhere is there, and he makes the catch.
They're going to need more of those big plays this
Yes.
year if they want to be more successful than a year ago. All right, now it's time for our predictions. Jeremiah, I really don't like to make predictions.
Why not?
It's just a guessing game. Of
course,
with
it's
injuries
fun,
and all
though.
that stuff. But let's go. Let's do it.
All right, roll it. Here we go. I'm going to get hammered by BYU fans, but I had to be objectively honest, and this is what I have. I have the Cougars going 4-8 this year again. I think they're going to be better this year, but this schedule is brutal.
Yeah.
It's brutal.
I've got them going 6-6, Jeremiah, because I got to put an upset in there somewhere, and I've got it home against Cal.
That would be a big upset.
I think that's going to be the upset. Now, the Utah State game, if they're playing on a neutral field or up at Utah State, I would say the Aggies. The only reason I said that is because they're playing in Provo. That was the determining factor, because I think that it may be in favor of the Ags.
Yeah.
But I just did it because it's in Provo.
The Aggies returned 18 starters. They won by 16 last year.
I understand
so I'm going to
that.
go with Utah State. And
with 2 touchdowns returned off of turnovers.
I'll say this. There's 2 games here, Utah State and Northern Illinois. Both are contenders in their conference. But if BYU wins those home games, they get to 6-6 and get to a bowl game. But those are tough games.
Well, I've got the upset over Cal, and that's going to get them to 6. Because I think they lose at UMass, because that's sandwiched in between Boise State and the Utes, both on the road.
Well, I guess
so
that
there you
will
go.
be a factor by then.
We're probably completely wrong on every one of them.
Of course we will be. That's why we do it, right? Now you can make fun of us.
There you go. Next week, the Utes preview. See ya.